Good evening, this is Miss Jill Louise Starr. I apologize for the low picture quality, but unfortunately I have to use my cell phone to do this reading of the Bosnian model of Al-Qaeda terrorism because my house is bugged. I have all kinds of problems with cameras and with Serge Bromwich. Continuing along from, these are charges leveled against the former president of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Alija Izetbegovic, from the prosecutor's office in the Republic of Srpska in Bosnia. So I'll continue just where I left off yesterday, and I apologize for the low picture quality. Further crimes that gravely breached the Geneva Conventions of 1948-49 committed by Alija Izetbegovic, former president of Bosnia and Herzegovina and supreme commander of the Bosnian and their associated war criminal Croatian army, are continuing as follows, and which I might add again: Serge Bromwich released and acquitted Ante Gotovina, the supreme commander of the Croatian army, about 3 weeks ago. I think we have just pretty much all Serbs left in the Hague jail cell, and I'd like to ask ICT prosecutor Serge Bromwich, why is that, Mr. Bromwich, sir? The following crimes committed by Ante Gotovina and the Mujahideen and their associated Al-Qaeda operatives are as follows. One will begin here. Between October 24th and November 10th, 1994, VRS Serbian army members Duško Stankovic, Drago Zic, Bozo Oljaca, Ostolia Bomestar, Predrag Gruber, Bozo Mandic, Dusan Zimjanac, spelled Zijanac, Zdravko Popovic, Momčilo Nedimovic, Obrad Koliberč, Trivo Zavisic, Dragan Karanovic, Radomir Milenkovic, Milan Konitz, Radislav Vukobrat were captured and executed point blank range. 2. In July of 1992, Mr. Bromwich, near Kotor Varos, spelled V-A-R-O-S, period, VRS Serbian army member Obrin, spelled O-B-R-E-N, Bubic, B-U-B-I-C, was captured and imprisoned in the villages of Sokolini, period. The Sici and Kotor towns is where this where he was captured near, was a concentration camp which was extremely unsanitary conditions, and it had no sufficient food or water, similarly to my house now, which kind of bears your signature. My father did warn me that you were out to kill me, Serge Bromwich. He works for the highest levels of intelligence in the military, CIA. My sister works in the highest levels of the State Department in the United States of America. And when my father calls me up over 6 times warning me not to post about Serge Bromwich, ICT prosecutor, because if I continue to annoy him, I'll be dead within 3 weeks. And I'm sickly, I've been in the hospital, I've lost 31 kilograms of my own body weight. It makes me wonder how guilty you are. Period. End of statement. Continuing right along, between July 5th and 19th, 1992, they lost 31 kilograms of their body weight, period, similarly to me. It bears your signature, Mr. Bromwich. And you have motive to kill me because I'm the only one that is able to testify against the ICTY and the ICC that it is a corrupt court, because I attended the International Criminal Court preparatory committee meetings, closed door, with every ambassador in the world in 2001, I believe it was February and March, in which I witnessed and personally saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears all the ambassadors of every NATO country having a substantive conversation about trading verdicts of guilt or innocence at the court for future financial funding and future judicial appointments, period. So you have motive to murder me. If I were you, I'd make sure I live. Continuing right along, during that period, these men were also injured multiple times with knives and blunt objects. It's very peculiar that the man 2 houses down the street gave me boxes of knives and blunt objects for free, and just put them out because he knows that I needed them, and I picked them up and brought them here. I might take a picture of those items at the end of this video to prove my case that Serge Brammertz is indeed trying to murder me. The ICTY and ICC is in contempt of itself and should be shut down ASAP. Everybody in it, Serbs, Albanians, Croatians, Israel is beginning to be condemned by it, by the Muslims in Gaza, and I will tell you, in my estimation, is bought and sold by terrorists and the Muslims from Gaza to Africa to Somalia and back, that were complicit in the 9/11 terrorist attacks in the United States of America. These men were also, these Serbian men, army members, were also psychologically tortured, Mr. Brammertz, as well, period. On several occasions, I can't quite make out what this said, but they were killed and murdered and found dead, period. These war crimes were investigated by the Republika Srpska, Serbian Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina. On July 10, 1992, Mr. Milosevic, near Mitrica, a BRS Serbian army member, and another man named Nenad Djilic, Milenko Blagojevic, and Blagoja Lukic were captured and imprisoned in Breznica, Gračanica, and Tuzla, period. They were beaten with blunt objects and otherwise, and in other manners tortured, period. In Breznica, these men witnessed the execution of other captured VRS Serbian army member named Mr. Djurgic. Now I'm asking Mr. Serge Brammertz, ICT prosecutor, and prosecutor of Ratko Mladic, and prosecutor of Goran Hadjic, prosecutor of Radovan Karadzic, prosecutor of Nikola Sanovic, and all of who I know and I can say as an international honor student in sociology, graduating cum laude from William Patterson College with a bachelor's degree, with which did wonderful in my forensic criminology class, my human biology class. I can put skeletons together. I do not think these men are war criminals whatsoever. They were caught up by the NATO country members that plotted and planned the war to disintegrate the former Yugoslavia so they could personally profit from the privatization in doing so, period. Now, we have proof of this, Darko Trifunovic and myself, because immediately after the 1999 Kosovo's crisis ended, I was asked by Darko Trifunovic to help a man who formerly owned a factory in Serbia proper. I believe, I'm not sure exactly where, but Darko can confirm and collaborate with me. Why was he imprisoned and beaten and starved to death? He was because he refused to sell his factory to American factory owners and the American government. Now that's a crime against humanity in and of itself. Now I'm wondering exactly the same questions Ratko Mladic is wondering and Radovan Karadzic, which I've read online in their pleas and their appeals. Why is Bill Clinton not at the Hague testifying? Why didn't Richard Holbrooke, why wasn't he subpoenaed at the Hague? Serge Brammertz, why do you let all, it is not, in any court of law, someone that is a defendant has the right to subpoena everybody, and it's not out of the question, as Noam Chomsky, Ramsey Clark, myself, and every lawyer in the world knows, whether they practice international law or whether they practice domestic national law in their own darn countries, that they have a right to subpoena witnesses. And why are you letting the people that did commit crimes, and you've seen plenty of evidence, and I have plenty of evidence to prove that NATO committed war crimes. In fact, I have a book of it that was sent to me by a high-ranking official in the Slobodan Milosevic government before he was murdered by your court of war crimes. I remember, and I'm going to stop here because the crimes are pretty much endless. I have 100 pages of names and crimes that you haven't said shit about. and I haven't heard the international news media mention once, that were committed by Croats, which you've let gone free, and KLA, Kosovo, terrorists affiliated with Qaeda you've let gone free, mercenaries from Croatian Nazis you've let gone free, and you only want to prosecute my friends, which are Serbs. I'm not going to go for it. And I urge every Serbian person to stand up, every Russian person, everyone that has any moral integrity whatsoever, to stand up and challenge the allegations against the Serbs that are still sitting there imprisoned in the ICTY court because they're innocent. And Serge Bromwich is walking around. If you read my papers that I took from that meeting, the ICC preparatory meetings in 2001, you know darn well, if you read it in detail and you didn't dismiss it just because you were too busy. In every government, I know every government, every president has read my book and seen those papers. You all know that the ICTY thinks it's as holy as the Holy See and the Pope in Rome, because Serge Bromwich can get away with murder, it says in those papers. He can walk around and not declare duty. He can walk around with briefcases of diamonds and not declare them, because he could just say, quote unquote, it's under the business of the court. He has diplomatic immunity as the President Obama does in the United States of America. And that is illegal, and it is, quote, not customarily accepted international law. Period. End of the discussion. Why?